Are you, can you see that clearly enough to read it?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Shall I begin reading that
yeah,
now?
go ahead. Yeah.
Dear folks of Baba, again, we are having as our guest speaker Irwin Luck, one of the few in our country still living who met Baba. I tell him that he is on the endangered species list. He first met Baba in 1960 when he was just in his early 20s, and he shares a very intimate perspective of Baba's human side. Baba was so natural and loving with him and delighted in this boy's great enthusiasm for him. He asked Baba many questions, which Baba welcomed, and he had the good fortune of driving around in the car with Baba visiting places in Pune. He was with Baba at other times during the 1960s, including the East-West gathering at Guruprasad in 1962. And he was in Meherabad when Baba was being lowered in his grave on the 7th of February, 1969. As always, Irwin welcomes any questions and gives a broad perspective of Baba as the avatar and what it means to live for him. Irwin lives in Myrtle Beach and is a delight to be around, entertaining in so many ways. Over the years, he has written many poems which he posts regularly that give valuable insight into the life with Baba, and he has worked tirelessly for Baba over 60 years. Come and enjoy his great sense of humor and bring questions. Let's see if we can ask him a question he can't answer. That would be a first. In his love, Jeff.
So, what I was, I've got some questions for him, but I won't, I won't lay them on him just yet. But I'm just going back to in the late 1960s, 1968. I invited Irwin and his brother to have lunch. This is in New York City, and I made these really nice tuna fish sandwiches, with pickles and mayonnaise and lettuce and tomatoes and maybe avocados. And we sat down and they took a couple bites out of their sandwiches and then they started talking about Baba. And then Baba's, there in India. They started talking, and 2 hours later, I looked down and there was just two bites, just a couple bites taken out of each sandwich because they had just, lifted off the ground in talking about Bob and sharing. Eventually, they came down and finished the sandwiches, but that's the way they were. Baba, I don't know if Irwin will touch on this, but Baba referred to them as his, should I say this, Irwin? His divine idiots. Something of that type. Because they were kind of crazy about Baba, But now he's kind of sobered up a little bit. He's in more control of it. Anyway, Irwin, it's over to you.
What an introduction. Well, only because you touched on this thing that Baba had said to us at one time when we were sitting by him. And there was a lot of people in the room also. There was maybe 200 people. It was in the Great Hall in Guruprasad, where Baba was staying for the summer. And Baba looked at us and he twirled his fingers around like this, and then he just pointed. We were sitting next to him on the carpet. Baba was sitting on the couch in his chair. So I thought, oh boy, look, Baba is making this motion like you're crazy. But I know that couldn't be. Baba isn't going to do that. And then he did it again. You see, he went like that and he did it again. And he looked at us So I said, I think he's really saying this. and then things proceeded. There was other people there that Baba was attending to also. And then he looked at us again and he went like that again, there. And I said, there it is. He said it. There's no doubt now that Baba is saying that we're crazy. So then Baba continued with what he was doing, but Erich was there reading Baba's gestures. And so I turned to Erich and I said, Baba, what does Baba mean by this when he does that? And he says, well, I'll tell you this. If you're going to want God, the world will think you're nuts. They will think you're crazy because the world is not after God. This is something you're doing, you want. So it means that you're crazy for God. Oh, now when you put it like that, that was better. Now now I could appreciate that, because I thought I was a little nuts for God. Because I came to Baba in 1960. That was the first time I saw him there. And I came with the single thought that I wanted him to show me God. I wanted to see this. So many people talk about God. Preachers were talking there's a God. So many different people are talking and saying all kinds of things that God is around. I said, finally, I want to see this for myself. Never mind hearing it from anybody else. I want to see this for myself. And so when I read the book, Listen Humanity, which is how I heard about Meher Baba, and he said that even if the worst scoundrel were to stand before him and he wanted, he could make him realize God in less time than the flash of a second. I said, that's for me. I got to go meet Meher Baba. And then he went on in other parts of that book to speak of himself as the highest of the high, that he was in the beyond state of God, that this was the only reality. Everything else was illusion. It was a dream. You're living in a dream and you think it's real. So that's what he was pointing out. And he came as the awakener to wake you up from this illusion, from this dream. And I said, boy, if I need that's really what I want. Now I knew I've got to meet Meher Baba. I've got to go see him and see what he will do, because that's what I want. I want to see what he is experiencing, that he tells others that he will bring them up to his level. To his level. He's the highest of the high. He declared that. And you're going to go up to his level. Well, that is a great destiny for anyone that is interested in the God state of consciousness, because that's what God is. God is not someone else. He's a state of, God is a state of consciousness which you are born to experience sooner or later. Usually it's later. Well, that's how it is. But anyhow, that is the goal. That is the whole purpose of our being in the world, to getting born, to in this whole journey. A lot of people wonder, what am I supposed to do? What am I here for? And they get very confused. Nobody has ever explained it the way Baba has. And he pointed it out very clearly. There is only one self in existence. And that one self is the one behind all the bodies and all the minds of all beings everywhere. Well, we don't experience that. We experience ourselves as separate from everyone and everything. But he's saying that the conscious experience of God is to experience that. And that's what he comes to do, because nobody else can help you with that. I don't know anybody that could help to experience the God state, except somebody that's already there. And that's the point. We're very
Irwin.
fortunate to have
Irwin,
experienced what?
so when you actually met him, did you feel like that he was entirely what you expected him to be?
My mother asked me the same question. Before I left, she wanted to know for me to tell her if Baba was everything that I had expected, because all that I knew was what I had read. You see, that was it from what I had read. But now I wanted, because of what I had read, is why I wanted to see him also. Now I'm there. And I did write back to her after being there for some time. I said to her, I said, Mother, Baba is not only what I had thought, but also much more. And when I came back, she really liked uh, that that reply, that Baba was all that I had not only expected, but much more, much more. And really, he is much more. But you see, the thing to understand about Baba is, I mean, we get involved with the God state and what a supernatural state that is, and with infinite power and infinite knowledge and infinite love and an infinite experience of all things. I mean, you can just go on and on about the unlimited nature of the God state. But Baba was very loving. He was very friendly. He was he was really nice. If you wanted to meet somebody that was really in your corner and who understood you and always had the right thing to advise you or to say to you for your own development and advancement, or just ordinary things, everyday things too. He was in touch with everything. Baba was the best friend you could ever have, just as a friend. You know, never mind his divine state yet, which is something which, of course, he takes which is his mission in the world. But just to be a really wonderful human being as we understand our families and our friends I mean, he was a good friend. You couldn't have a better friend. If you want a friend, get somebody who's running the universe. Who'll make a good friend for you. You like that. Gotta pick somebody that you really want, that you can have a lot of feeling and respect for. But he was full of love, and Baba even would say at times, he said, no one understands me until they understand me as infinite love. Infinite meaning unlimited. There's no limit to it. And he could say that because of his experience of being one with everyone. We don't have that experience of being one with everyone and everything in the universe. It don't matter whether it's subhuman, it don't matter whether it's in the human level, it don't matter if it's the most advanced souls on all the higher planes, which we don't even experience, but these people are there too. And even the God realized. I mean, he's one with everyone. So naturally, he's one with you. The most important thing he wanted you to understand is that he was in you, that he's one with you. So he naturally understands everything of your thoughts, your feelings, your likes, your desires, your all your passions, everything. He understands the whole thing, and he can help you because of that. Now, here's someone, as I was saying to somebody, he's all powerful. He says it himself. He says, infinite power, the power behind all energies, the life force power, every power. And he has all that. He can do anything. And yet, he's the most harmless and loving and caring person. Because when you get to that stage of being in everyone and everything, you have what they call it unconditional love. It don't matter whether you're a good guy or a bad guy. I mean, you're in them all. And you are able to bring anyone else and enlighten them. His mission as the avatar is for the enlightenment of millions. God-realized persons don't enlighten the whole universe or millions. They usually are helping those that are that have evolved with them until they got God realization, and they help those people, even though they can enlighten anybody. You know, they're fully capable. But the avatar, they bring them down because it's a special role to enlighten the world. And Baba explained how he did that. He arranges his life in such a way that whoever focuses on it advances. You know, they advance towards the illuminated states just because of the way he arranges his life. And if you really go over Baba's life, you know, this book, Lord Meher, is a fantastic book. Bal Kalchuri did it in 20 volumes. He did it, he said, in 6 months. To write one volume, it could take you a whole life, half a life, or a quarter of a life. He wrote 20 volumes of the life of Meher Baba in this 6-month period that he did it in. And he explained in there Baba's outer life, as well as so many of the things Baba said of his inner life. You know, you had both the outer and the inner. But if you look at just the outer life and the way he worked with the poor and the muss and the lepers and oh God, he worked with everybody and traveled the world and with the people in Hollywood or the people that were in physical conditions that were very poor. And he would help everybody in every which way. So that was, that was the way he worked. You know, his outer life was like a life that nobody lives. Nobody lives that kind of a life. One phase of his life, he spoke about the Mananash period. Now, Mananash was the annihilation of the mind, which is the obstacle preventing you from realizing yourself as infinite. The self is what the goal is, to realize your complete self as being unlimited. That is the goal. But the mind, which was very important for you to evolve consciousness with, you see, the mind was used as the framework and the structure for developing consciousness through a whole series of evolutions. But when you have full consciousness, then you can inhabit a human form, which is the condition for being in the human form, was to have a full consciousness, because in the human form, with full consciousness, you can realize your infinite self. You need consciousness for that. To have self-realization, you need to have a full consciousness. You can't have a partial consciousness or semi-consciousness that is in the more subhuman forms of life. But anyhow, that is what Baba wanted. And so his outer life and the way that he worked with people and what he did, I'm sure many of you have already read quite a bit of it, but it does tell you something that no one ever lives a life like that. And the Mananash, as I was pointing out, was the annihilation of the mind. That's what it was for, so that you could realize God, you see. He had to do that. If anyone has questions about anything, you can feel free to ask, because this is a very informal. See, I don't know about formalities. I only know the informal. So if you want to ask me something, you can. And if you don't have anything to ask, I'll keep talking until you can't stand it anymore.
Well, Irwin, let me ask you this. You
Go ahead. Yes.
you know, you were a young, you know, in your early 20s when you met Baba,
Sure.
and then you were with him all these years. You met him on quite a few occasions and everything. Can you kind of describe, I mean, this is not easy, how your relationship with Baba has evolved over the years to where it is now? What would you say?
Well,
That's a hard question.
sure. I don't see much difference. In the beginning, I felt like a long lost son that had come home when I met Mayor Baba. That was my first meeting with him. And he embraced me and he kissed me on my cheeks and he had me sit near him and he asked me how I had come. And I said, I was able to come because it was your will. And when I said that, he had me stand up and repeat it to everybody in the room at the time. Uh, my visits with Baba, I had 3 visits with him in 1960, in 1961, and again at the East-West Gathering in 1962. And then finally, well, that was when he was alive, but when he left his body, I was able to go to the and help cover Baba in the Samadhi. I went to India at that time with my brother Edward, and we both did that. So we were able to help cover Baba too. But you see, contacting Baba, anybody can do. All you got, because you got to understand that the mind really is everywhere. Everybody has a mind. And Baba's mind, he told us, was the universal mind, meaning that all minds of all mentalities are in that mind, the universal mind. So we have our individual mind. We don't have universal mind. We don't see the minds of everybody else. But he had that, because when they brought him back down to be able to function in the world from his God realized state, Upasani Maharaj had to give him the knowledge of everything, because he had to work with that. And he brought him into the gross consciousness of the world and the subtle consciousness for those in the worlds of energy, and then the mental world, which is for the worlds of those that are in the mental world of the mind. These are all their own respective realms. But for us, it was the physical world of matter, and we occupy physical bodies. That's how we get around, and that's how we learn our lessons or make our mistakes and our successes, whatever we do, and eventually realize God. It's very important to have a physical body for that. Now, physical bodies, as you well know, are very perishable. They don't last long, but you go from one to the other in the reincarnation process. So there's no end to that. And essentially, you're immortal, but we're not experiencing our immortality. We experience ourselves in the body, and because of that, we think we're mortal. But that's not actually the way it is. Everybody is immortal. There is no beginning and no end. Everything is in the now. The now has no beginning or end. But in memory, there's a past, and in the anticipation of what can be life in the future, there is the anticipation. You can have imagination of future. But the truth of the matter is, the now is always now. You're never living in the future or the past. You're living always in the now. And the now has no beginning and no end. Put that in your soup and drink it. Let me see if you can figure that out.
Let's see, Irwin, see if you can can you get out of the now? Let's see if you can get out.
You can't get out of now.
Oh man,
You're
you're stuck.
talking in the now right now, as a matter of fact. But if you have a question, go ahead.
Yeah, well, so like you said how you were when you were young. How would you say,
How I
how
feel
do you
about
find
it.
Baba now? How do you find Baba in your life now?
I approach him in the mental world, in the mind. Baba is very connected to everybody's mind, and you can ask him, and you can approach him, and he can assist you, and he can guide you, and he can do everything that you would need. All you need to do is focus on him and approach him and speak to him in that manner. Whether you get an answer with a voice, I don't. But I get answers by what the circumstances happen around me. When I communicate to Baba over some special need that I have, it can be just an ordinary thing. It don't have to be anything so spiritual either. And Baba will assist me, and he will help me, and you'll just see your circumstance all of a sudden starts to change, whereas before it didn't. And that's how that's how it works with me. So I don't see that it would work any different with anybody else either. You know,
Beautiful. Yeah.
it's all about love. You
We
know,
got some questions up there.
go ahead, ask whatever you like.
10,000 miles away, VJ.
DJ, he's an old buddy of mine. He was there with Baba standing behind the couch as a kid, and with all the other kids that were behind Baba's couch. The kids loved to stay around the couch, and Baba was very friendly with them all. He loved that. He loved them all. You see, it's all about love. In the end, after all is said and done, love counts. You know? It's all about the love, because that's the attractive force. Love is the most attractive thing. I never met anyone who didn't like love. They could be a good guy, a bad guy, whatever they were. Love they liked. But go ahead, ask
Hi,
again.
Irwin. Hi, Jai Baba.
Where are you? Let me see. Trying to
Yeah.
spot you on. Oh, here you are. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in the shade there. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. So it brings back the all sweet memories. And see, this world is illusion, but that illusion is still exists. So you see, we were there. Baba invited us and with my father, and he asked my father to leave on 11th June, and he asked you also to leave, go back on 11th June, and sitting at his feet. And I remember you very well, that as a boy, 9-year-old boy, and there was a talk going on that how this boy he made 20,000 rupees in 2 days. So we were curious, who is this boy from America? You see, my father, Baba called him at the age of 14 from Nagpur. But I was surprised that he can call a boy from New York who is anywhere in the world. So see the potential of God man. He can call anyone he likes. And yeah, that's a wonderful example. My father was having correspondence with you after that. You remember. And
Oh,
I met you when Baba dropped his body. You came from America. You stayed at Vilu's Villa for 6 months. Yeah, beautiful memories. And we are still meeting till last year when you were here at Meherabad. Yeah, so
mm.
very nice, very nice.
Well,
It makes me very happy to see you.
Hey,
well,
Peter Solomasi had a question.
okay.
Thank you for bringing that to light. Yes. Hi, Irwin. I can't
Hi.
see you on the screen, but one comment and a question. One comment was, I guess being in retail, hearing about perishable items, it just got a giggle out of me, referring to the human body as perishable.
Very perishable.
Yeah. But also, my mind is tired, but you got my attention giggling too. And you mentioned, you mentioned something about take your soup and drink it too. Can you remind me what that was in reference to?
The one thing you remember is about the soup.
Well, that's just
Well, anyhow, listen, the things that I'm speaking about is really what Bob has been explaining to everybody. You see, I'm like Bao in one respect. When he would start off, and he could talk for hours actually, and he did, he would say, I want you all to know that I don't know anything. And then he said, and now you can ask me whatever you want. And they would ask the man who said he didn't know anything. But of course, he had lived with Baba, and these experiences that he had living with him and the things that would happen is what he would talk about. And that, of course, he could talk. But the things that Baba explained, that was something quite different. Then this was coming from Baba's understanding and knowledge about things. In my case, it's no different. What I explain about the things that Baba explained about his consciousness and the difference between what he experiences and what we do is only because he explained it. Otherwise, how would I know? I don't know any of that. This is what he explained. So I sort of relate, also what he's saying. The only other thing I could tell you about is my own personal experience being with him and how I felt about it. So that's a personal experience that I can tell you. And that's where the soup comes in. So if you want to hear about the soup, that's what I have to tell you.
Okay, I'll go. Irwin, I'll go ahead. I'll try to remember to check out the rewind. But that cracks me up. I don't know anything, so ask me anything you want to, and that's pretty funny. Thank you.
Yeah, he would say that. I say the same thing. I mean, who wouldn't? Baba has to. What Baba explains is so clear, actually, and very much to the point. He tells you why you're here.
Oh, this is Mommy's friend.
And what it is that you're really here to experience. What?
Whoops, someone needs to be muted there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's Shaney. Go ahead. What about the soup? You're leaving us. Our soup is getting cold here.
Yeah.
I already told you all I know about soup, but if you want to hear more, I'll make up something else.
Maybe in a nutshell.
Listen, it's just an expression.
Oh.
Because we have to try and understand things. And in the difficulty of perhaps some of the things that has been said that makes it harder to understand, it's like your soup. You're trying to figure it out. You find, I put it that way. It's just it don't mean anything.
Okay.
Once again, it don't.
Yeah. Well, we've got Rich Sanders from Colorado. He's got a question for you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Irwin, I have watched a lot of your YouTube videos, and I've enjoyed a lot of it. I wanted to mention, as part of that, I've heard your story of your first trip with that big real estate ad. That was funny. That was so funny. Blew my mind. But I really wanted to ask you more about, and I hope this is appropriate, but about your brother. And I knew him. I met him in Denver for a while. I went to an AA meeting.
Edward, yeah.
Yes, and I really liked him. He's really a special guy. But I think he must have had a lot of turmoil along the way.
Have
That's
what?
all. Turmoil.
Oh,
trouble,
turmoil. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really liked Edward. I only saw him a couple of times in Myrtle Beach when I was there.
Yeah, a lot of people really like my brother. Edward was very, he was very loving and very much aware of the things of Baba. Baba guided him just like he did me. The two of us were very close together. Prior to Baba, we were not that close. He was more close with my other brothers. But then when we both began to look to see Baba, so we had so much more in common now. And then we really were together a lot in those days. And people liked him. He was very astute. He knew what Baba was and what Baba wanted and how to behave. You see, Baba wanted very much that we should listen to him and do what he says, because he knows what he's saying. He knows what he's talking about, and what's the best for you. So he always wanted people to do definitely to do what he said, and then he said, and then you love me, also, because with love it gives the charm for what you're doing. You can do what a person says, you can do it like mechanically, but if you do it with love and because you really feel it, that you really like him because he's there for you, that's a whole nother matter. Then Baba can appreciate that very much. He liked that very much. And we would send Baba all these poems and these love letters, and he would get them, and he was always very responsive. One time there was a question, I think it was Dr. Goer wanted us to send certain chocolates, it was a dietary type chocolate, which was difficult to find that brand, but she asked for it. And so we went around and we finally located it, and we sent it out. And it was for Baba, because I had told Adele that anytime there's anything that they ask for, that's for Baba. And if you have any difficulty with it, just ask us. We'll get it. So this was one of the things. So what happens? We get a telegram back from Baba, and he says, "You're sweetening my mouth now with chocolates. One day I will sweeten your mouth with divine wine." So I've been telling people, hang around, because when the wine is given out, they don't ask questions as to who's there.
Beautiful.
You got to be around,
Yeah. Hey, listen, we
At the
got
right
Mary.
time. Everything is timing.
Mary Barrett. Yeah.
Hey, Jeff. Hi, Irwin. I'm really glad you're here.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
I don't want
I
to
have
be.
all these pictures of
Yeah.
everybody on the
Yeah.
screen here. I got to search around and see who's talking. Go ahead, Mary.
Hi. Okay, so I am, oh dear, you know what's happening is that when I speak, I'm seeing myself and I'm not seeing you. Let me just switch here. Okay. So you had mentioned Baba in your life now, after Jeff had asked you to talk about that. And you referred to, you asked Baba to help you with just things in your life.
Anybody can contact Baba at any moment. All you got to do is focus your thoughts, because he picks up on these thoughts. Don't forget, his mind is everywhere. It's in your mind also.
Right.
So it picks up right away. I mean, there's no delay in this.
Okay, so my question is,
Yeah, go ahead.
Question. I'm under the impression that, Baba doesn't want people to ask him for things like, Baba, I need more money, or I need a better job, or I'm not sure what to list when I say this, but I've always wondered in my life about the kinds of things to ask Baba to help me with. And I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, I do. I have something to say about practically.
All right, well, you say it. I want to hear it.
You can ask Baba anything. It don't matter how mundane it is. Baba is here for a purpose. The purpose he's here for is to give you your ultimate enlightenment. That is his true mission. And to ask for this, he will guide you and direct you that way. This is what he's really here for. However, if a person has some particular need, or there's something, just an ordinary thing, an everyday issue, he'll help with that too. I mean, he's very generous, he's very compassionate and loving, and he'll help you with whatever you ask for. But the thing is to remember that why you're really here. I mean, you're here to find the whole thing, not just a piece of action of some small thing that you may require in your daily life. But he'll help with that too. I mean, he's there to help, and help he does. but keep in mind that there's a big purpose for his being here as the avatar. He's not just here to help with just the small things of everyday life that even others could probably help you with, but he is going to do whatever. Listen, anyone that approaches him for any assistance, whether it's of the biggest things or the tiniest things of your life, he's there. He can't help but being there. He's already telling us over and over again, I'm in you. How much
Right.
closer can you get?
Right. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Irwin. Thank you very much.
You can't get any closer than he's in you. And he wants people to understand that he's really literally in us. And he is fully conscious of the minds and the hearts of each person and what their loves and their desires and their feelings and their needs are. This is, he's knowing this. He knows all of this.
Thank you. That was really nice.
Beautiful.
Thanks very much.
Christina.
Hey, Irwin. How are you? I'm glad to
Hi.
be here. Hey. I had a question for you. There are so many people, I mean, generally everywhere, it seems in this country, who have mental illness or have had emotional trauma to the extent that it's deeply changed their mental chemistry and has led to a mental imbalance. And a lot of those people seem to be, in Baba communities. And I'm just wondering if you have anything to say about the journey to God or to finding God within for those people who do have mental illness, or maybe even psychosis or something dramatic, or just deep emotional trauma that's altered their brain chemistry.
Well, if they're aware enough, in spite of their conditions, to approach Baba, they can do that. And, when I do approach him for whatever reasons, I always say to him, if you can fix this, it's the way I see things, but what you see, do it your way. Do it the way that you see. Because karma from the past and our actions of the past and things of that, where we don't even remember any of it, it could be the cause of a lot of things. But you see, we don't know all the answers to that. So we leave it to him too. You can always approach him. You can put forward whatever your distress is and let him help with that the way he sees fit. I always mention to Baba, whatever you see fit, because I don't see the whole picture. I just see what I see. But when we have a bigger picture, especially when you're having physical illnesses or you're having mental illnesses, these are extremely troubling. And we have that, but we can also let him be part of our solution.
So being honest about it.
Now, I will put it this way. Many times, well, Baba doesn't do the miracles himself. He doesn't like to just use supernatural abilities for that, but he will arrange that others that are in the position for helping, that you come in contact with them right away.
Right.
Or you come in contact with them so that you can get the help that you're asking for. So, there's 1,001 ways for something to be done. And Baba knows the method or the best thing that will be helpful to you, to someone that has a pain or mental problems or whatever the case may be. He'll put you with the right people oftentimes. I don't I don't see Baba doing things supernaturally
Right.
in front of you. But
Right.
behind the scenes, he works very well. Now, I'll tell you something that was done in front, now that I'm thinking about it, and it had to do with my father. My father, you may know from whatever I've written before, was very opposed to Baba to begin with. To begin with, he was so opposed. To say he was opposed was putting it mildly. He could not stand that we would be following a master in India or someone that says that he's God. God, are you kidding? How can you think that somebody is God? This was his view. And let me tell you, this is a hard nut for a lot of people to get over, because the fact is that you can, with infinite consciousness, you can be, you are God. I mean, that's how you get to be God. It's a God is a state of consciousness which you have within you and is latent in everybody, but not everybody knows that. Anyhow, aside from that, so he was very opposed. So I directed my thoughts. Now, here's something that did happen. I directed my thoughts to Baba that he should do something for my father so that it would be so undeniable that he would have to accept it. He would have to accept it. It just would be so undeniable, because I felt that my dad, he really needed help to get over this thing that he couldn't believe that the God could be experienced, and that Meher Baba was one with that. All right, now, so I directed my thoughts and I asked Baba to help with that. A short time later, it was a very short time later, all of a sudden my father is telling me, he says, something happened, which I can't tell you because you won't believe it. So I'm listening to what he's saying. He says, something absolutely, he keeps telling me this here, something absolutely happened that you couldn't believe it. You can't believe it, but it happened. And I'm a realist. He always prided himself on the idea that he's a realist, that what he experiences through his senses, that's it. He's a realist. So he's telling me this, and he goes on about this. I mean, he just doesn't say it once or twice. He goes on and on about that something such a thing happened that it was just. He says, I know what happened because I'm a realist, and but I'm not going to tell you because you'll never believe it. And he goes on. So finally, after some time, I say to him, look, Dad, I've heard many incredible things, and I have no reason to disbelieve anything you would tell me. If you want to tell me, tell me. Don't concern yourself whether I believe it or not. I believe what you tell me. So he says, all right. Finally, he says, all right. And what does he tell me? He says, I'm sitting in my chair in my living room. He's in the living room, and he had a favorite chair that he would sit and read the paper. And he says, I'm looking at the paper, and I suddenly began to feel that there's something in the room. There's something else in the room. So I put the paper down, and what do I see? There's Meher Baba standing in front of me. And he's dressed in his white gown, and he's with two disciples, and he motions for them to sit down, to sit on the carpet. And he tells me, he speaks to me, and he says, where I am now, don't be surprised that you hear me speak, because where I am now, I can speak. He's telling me this. And then in the course of things, he told me many different things. And then in the course of these things, he said, I'll visit you 3 times, but the 3rd time will be the last. He tells him this. And my father, who is who's a great talker. I mean, you could hardly ever get a word in edgewise when you're with him, because he speaks and he always feels how right he is about things. And anyhow, He don't say anything. He's just listening. And he's telling me what happened. So he says, this is what happened. And he tells me this, well, I had asked Baba internally that he should do something for him that would be so undeniable that he couldn't deny that it happened. And then my father goes on as he's telling me this, he says, now listen, I'm telling you, I'm a realist and I know what happened. So this happened. And he goes on about that for a little while. All right, so that was the beginning of his transformation, in which he began to feel that Baba was his friend, because Baba would always tell him things that were so helpful to him. And Baba did, he told me, come 3 times, just like he said he would. And he did that. So, you can't say what Baba will do. This is like totally supernatural. Nobody just appears and disappears. So it's what happened to him. He needed something so strong that he could not say that it. And the reason that I think he would keep telling me that I wouldn't believe it, which is what he was saying earlier, is because if somebody had told him a story like this, he would never have believed it if it came from someone else. But the fact that it happened to him, then he couldn't deny it. You see, that was how it happened. All right. So Baba does, in my view, he's always there to help anybody, whether it's someone who's all for him or not. But tell Baba all of that is just your own thoughts and feelings and impressions. It has nothing to do with the reality. He knows how he wants to take a person to where they should be, to take them from where they are to where they should be, like he said. So this is what happened with my dad. And then in the end, my father lived till he was 94. But before he passed away, because a lot of things happened in the course of his life with Baba and letters, and he always looked forward to these letters that came from Baba. He would say, it's like reading the Bible. He said, I get a letter from Baba. It's like reading the Bible. He was very moved by Baba. Finally, in the end, before he died, I asked him, I said, do you think that Meher Baba is God? This is something that he would never have believed. So now he said, yeah, he said, now I'm one of you. He didn't answer me like, yes, he believed it, but he just said, now I'm one of you. That was his answer. And so I knew that, his feelings and his thoughts and everything had been changed from what it was. And that's what happens with everybody. Who's to say that there wasn't a time that we, in some past life or even in this life, couldn't believe what Master is or what a Baba is or God is. And now we take it as a natural thing once you get to understand all the things that Baba told us about it. So there you have it. Now,
Hey, Irwin, let me ask you.
Wait, before you ask.
Okay, yeah.
Put that in your soup and
Okay. I'm sipping.
Now it's your turn.
No, I'm just saying that, you met Baba personally, so you saw how he related to you, on a personal level. And over the years, when people have come here to the center, they often, they have that longing and a secret desire to know how Baba would relate personally to them. Now, there's the inner kind of thing, but, there's, how would he, if they were with him, how would he respond to them? I mean, of course, you say he's very,
Listen, only Baba knows how he's going to respond to somebody. But it's a good question just the same. All I can tell you is that I'm no different than anybody else at this point, because Bob is not physically here for me to communicate or contact him. And I have to do it the same as what you would do, or anybody would do. All I can say is that I approach him in my mind directly, and that's what I do. If I have a real problem and I have to get it resolved, and it can be just an ordinary thing, I'll write it down on a piece of paper what it is, and I'll put it by his picture. I did it. That's what I do. You know, Judy is here. She agrees. You know, that's what she sees me do, and then it gets resolved. So how am I going to approach him? You can approach him the same way. I mean, there's no difference. Baba is most of the time not in the physical body. But he is always in the mental realm where you're able to communicate that way. And one of the stories about this has to do with St. Francis, who was due to get God realized, but Jesus was not in the body at the time to enlighten him, because he was following Jesus. So what happened, that Kizzer, who was a perfect master and is always around, took on the form of Jesus and gave him the God-realized state, the enlightenment. He was able to do that. And, you know, people that are God-realized, they're all one. These are not, they're not like separate people. They have separate roles. Yes, their role may be separate, but they're all one in consciousness. There is no difference in the God-realized person's consciousness, one to the other. And that's what happens. So there's, you know, when the time is there for you, there will always be a perfect master or somebody that will be able to enlighten you to what your true nature, true self is. It's all about yourself. You have to experience the fullness of your infinite being. Sounds good on paper. And how you do it? You see, that's how you do it. You direct your thoughts to him. You may as well direct it for the things that are ultimately there. Once you realize God, you don't need anybody's help. You know, you can help whoever you want. That's what happens. And
We got a question here from Sharon.
yeah, okay, Sharon.
Whoop, you're muted. Yeah.
Irwin, I wanted to ask you if you have any thoughts about what Baba said and your own thoughts on how our past lives affect our current lives.
About our current life and
How our
life?
past lives affect our present life.
Well, the past affects the present. You're the sum total of everything that you've ever been. That's what you are now. And you have your hand up. I don't know. Somebody had his hand up.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I don't see where there's any conflict in that. Whatever your efforts and strengths and I'll use an example which Baba talked about, Mozart. Mozart was a genius. As a young boy, he could create symphonies. Even at the age of 4, I think he started with that, which is like remarkable. But Baba said, if you have a few lives in which you put a lot of effort into something, you will usually in the maybe the 4th life, if you would you will excel in such a way that people could never understand, you know, that you hadn't been schooled in all of this yourself to that extent. And it could be an artist, it could be a scientist, it could be a businessman, it could be anything. Whatever you have put tremendous effort into in previous life, there will come a point that you'll excel in that area. Now, the perfect masters are perfect in every area because they're at the root of the mind itself, where the mind is the source of all your knowledge and all your experience. So you can have that, so that's them. They can be perfected and they can express perfection in anything. But for an ordinary person, whatever you have really done in the past and put in a lot of effort into that will have its result in a present life that you have. So there's that. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what does happen.
You were going to say about.
Thank you.
About Mozart?
Yeah.
Well, Mozart was, he was it was typical of him. He didn't just get it all of a sudden at the age of 4 in this life. He had to put in a lot of effort in other past lives, and then it culminated where he had that talent. And it could be in any of the arts, acting, it could be in painting, sculpture, I mean, there's so many arts, sciences, there's always a reason for what happens. You can be sure of that.
Irwin, over the years, people, I mean, I've always sensed in you, you have a certain kind of understanding about deserving and undeserving in relation to Baba. And that gets, a lot of people, some people feel they're undeserving or unworthy and everything. How would you speak to that?
Well, you have to understand Baba's work and his mission. When he looks at a person to enlighten them, because that's his mission, to give you the God state of consciousness, he has to wipe out everything, all your impressions, whatever it is. You have to give up everything. In other words, he has to wipe the whole thing out. It don't matter whether you are a saint or a scoundrel. It all has to go. Everything has got to go. And because what he has to do is to enlighten you, to wake you up from the sleep of your impressions that you've been so involved with. Now he has to get rid of them all so that you can wake up and experience your true nature. So good and bad people don't stand in his way. He has to take care of the whole thing. And that's why anybody, a saint or a scoundrel, it's like he said, even if the worst scoundrel stood before me and I had the wish, I can make him realize God in less time than the flash of a second. Now, he could do that for a saint. He could do that for a common man. He could do that for a dog. He used to talk about Upasani Maharaj, that he was so great that if his grace were to descend on just a stone, it would experience God. Whatever the consciousness, however minor it is, however limited it was, he could bring it to the extent of experiencing the infinite self. So good and bad is that's for us. You don't like somebody or you like somebody. Well, it has nothing to do with the fact that he has a mission of enlightenment. He can take anybody. So everybody is close to him. There's nobody that's not. He would say in himself, he says, I'm in you. He didn't specify, I'm in you, but not you. He's in everything. The only way I could understand this, from my limited human experience, is as a dream. You have a dream. You see, you can have people in the dream. You can have buildings. You can see the sky and the stars. You can see somebody looking through a telescope to see what's the furthest distance they can look. You can dream anything. You dream imagination. It's all imagination. So if you have this ability and you're the dreamer, see, the dreamer is real. The dream is not. The dream is imagination. It's illusion. It's something you can create, but you can create all of that, you see, and then you've created an entire world with the expansion in space of all the things that it contains. Imagination. Baba is saying you're living in a dream, which you think is real because you have a full consciousness to see every detail of it, but it's not real. Now he has to wake you up so you can see yourself, which is real. And that is what his mission is. So good or bad guy, what is that to do with it? Those are just impressions of the imagination. I don't know, maybe that.
Excellent. Yeah, no. So no one is either deserving or undeserving.
There is no, yeah, right.
Has nothing to do with it.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you about Phil Cowens. Now, he's a friend of mine, in which I met in the Air Force when I was in the reserves. And he was always getting into all kinds of trouble. He was a real rascal, got into all kinds of trouble. And but the thing about him is that he came to hear about Mayor Baba because I was silent one day. Baba had told us all to be quiet and be silent. So I was silent that day, and he came over and he was very curious as to why I was silent. He said, "What are you silent for? Can you talk?" And I motioned, no, I can't talk. He says, "Can you talk tomorrow? Will you be able to talk tomorrow?" And so I nodded, "Yeah, I can talk tomorrow." He says, "I'm coming tomorrow. You have to tell me why you're silent." And so that's how he got to hear about Mayor Baba. So I told him. So he comes the next day, and I was on KP. I was scrubbing the floors and doing KP, and he says, "What religion are you?" So I said, "I'm Jewish." He said, "Aha! There's nothing in the Jewish religion that says you have to be silent. So how come you're silent?" I said, "Well, I follow a master, and his name is Mayor Baba, and he said to be quiet, to be silent, and now that's why I'm silent." So he says, "Can you tell me more about this?" So I took him over to the barracks where we were, and I had a book. So I said, "Look, I'll read you some of the things he said." So he lays down on the floor, on the wooden floor. He lays down on the floor and he says, "Read." And as I'm reading, he falls asleep. He falls asleep. And then suddenly he jumps up and he says, "I want to meet this. I want to contact this Mayor Baba. I need to contact him." So I said, "What are you going to say?" He says, "I need his help." He says, "I need his help." All right. So now we go, he says, but I said that, "Look, Mayor Baba is not he's not seeing anybody now. He's in seclusion, and he is not receiving visitors, nor is he receiving any correspondence except with telegram. So if you want, you can send a telegram," he said. I says, "I want to send a telegram," but he says, "I really can't do that because they told me that if I come late one more time, they'll throw me in the brig. They'll throw me into the jail if I come one more time late, and I'll never get back in time." So I said, "Do you realize who you're talking about? Who you're contacting? Do you have any idea of who this is?" He says, "Well, tell me." I said, "He's the one that runs the universe. This is he runs every army. He runs everything. This is what he does. He's the source of all things. You have no idea who you're even talking about that you're going to contact, and you're worried about whether you're going to that they're going to attack you for going to jail because you're late or something. I said, that's all I'm going to tell you. Now you do what you want. So he says, you know, you're right. I'm going to go there. I don't care. They can throw me in jail. I'm going. And he went ahead and he sent a telegram to Baba. Now, now comes, so now we go back to our duty sections. And later on that day, I went into my section, said, listen, I was late also. So I come in and nobody says a word. And in the Air Force, they watch nobody does anything. They watch you, the sergeant and the private that works with him looks at everybody even worse than the sergeant does. And he will report to him anything. Nothing is said, not a thing. So I go in there and it's amazing, you know, that they didn't notice that. Then I spoke to Phil later and I said, well, tell me what happened today. He says, I don't believe it. I walked in there. I expected them to jump all over me and nobody said a word. It was like I was there. It was like I was there the whole time. Nobody said a word. What?
Did Phil send a telegram at that?
Yeah, he did. He sent a telegram. Oh, yeah. We had gone to the telegraph office and he asked Baba for his help. That's what he wanted. And then now, so, you know, but I did tell him, I said later, I said, now listen, Phil, this is a one-time thing. You contacted Baba, he covered you completely, as you saw. But you don't just make a practice of this either, because this is just for you this time. You did the right thing. So, all right. Now we're leaving after 2 weeks of being on the active duty. All the soldiers are dismissed and everybody's going home. And what happens? We're going towards our car to leave, and there's another car across a huge field. It was a big field. And this other car pulls up and the guy jumps out and he yells across the field, are you Phil Cowens? So he hears this and he says, yeah, I'm here. And he says, there's a telegram for you. And he gets back in his car and shoots off. Well, now there's something that's come. So we go to the telegraph office, and sure enough, there's a telegram from Baba. Baba had sent him an answer. And he was, so then, well, before I tell you what happened, so then he goes home, we go home, back to our homes, and he finds that there's a letter that also came from Baba. And in the letter, he sees that the letter, and he tells me this later, he says that the letter had his apartment number on it. He says, I don't even know that apartment number. But the letter had it on there. So it got to where he was. And then in the letter, Baba had given him a series of instructions of what to do, about 10 instructions about what to do. And then at the end of the instructions, Baba says, having failed this, now I want you to come and see me when I go, see me, to come and see me at the East-West gathering. So Baba gives him all these instructions and tells him he's going to fail the whole thing. And now he should just come and see him. This is not the letter. So Phil, from that time on, so Phil, out of all the people that I did speak to about Baba on that, in the military at the time when I was there, he was the only one that actually went. But you see, he didn't just go. because when the time came for him to leave, he had no money. He didn't like working. So he had no money. And but I had this ticket, and I said to him, I said, look, Phil, you can take this ticket if you want it, but you'll have to pay it back at the end with American Express. So if you want to go, he says, oh, I can't go. I can't go. I said, why not? He says, I'm not worthy. He tells me he's not worthy. So I said, you're not worthy. Who said you had to be worthy? Did Baba tell you had to be worthy? He just said for you to come. You don't question whether you're worthy or not. This has nothing to do with anything. You just do what he says. He asks you to come. So you can come. You don't have to be worthy. And then he says, you know, you're right. You're right. But he says, I have no money. How am I going to go? I have to, even if I have a ticket, I have to stay at a hotel. I got to have food, money. I got to have transportation, whatever. So I asked him, I said, isn't there something that you can sell, that you have something of yours? And he says, no, he can't think of anything. So I tell him, what about baby? Why don't you sell baby? People, they hear baby. What is it? You can't sell a baby. His car. He called his car his baby because he would do everything. He put every cent that he has. Whenever he would have anything, it would go into fixing the car or to fixing it up or doing something with it. So that was baby. And he said, well, yeah, I guess I could do that. And he did. He sold his baby. And then he had a few $100s that he could travel with. And he made the people that bought the car know every little thing that they had to do for that car. Like you would tell somebody that you give your baby to, you know, what they have to do. So he did that with the car. Anyhow, he went to see Baba. And when he got in front of Baba, and because now I was there, he prostrated himself at Baba's feet like that, because Baba said that you could, that each person could greet him the way they wanted. And he chose to do that. No, I did that. I was a little different. When see, Baba would embrace each person as they came to him. So when my turn came, I embraced Baba and I kissed him on his cheek, and then I sat down wherever it was. That was my way of doing it. But each person could do what they felt, you know, and that's what he did. So there he was, the undeserving one. He felt he was undeserved. He would speak about Baba day and night to whoever came across him. He was a changed man. He could totally transform. And he loved his book, God Speaks. And he would recite it to others and explain to them what it meant, because he had that understanding of it. And so that was Phil until he passed away some years ago. I'm still
Beautiful.
around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you remember just saying whether you're undeserving or deserving has nothing to do with Bob. I think was what you said, and there's a deep truth.
People
Yeah.
feel guilty about themselves because they may think, oh, well, you know, I should have done this, or I didn't do that, you know, or I did something that was not good for somebody else. Whatever the views are, you know, you have your impressions of your own life. But with Baba, all of that has got to go. You don't keep anything for yourself. You can't even keep your guilt to yourself. How do you like that?
Hey, so it's kind of late now here on the East Coast. And
sorry, I've talked.
No, this is beautiful. Really, it's fantastic. I just I know, Rich, you got a final question.
Irwin, I want to thank you for all of those movies that you and Ed made. Those things are incredible. They're so incredible. I mean, watching the early Mondi and Padre and all of them. That your movies just they're like magic for me. I imagine a lot of people. Thank you.
Well, you're most welcome because at the time I didn't know what I would be doing anymore because Baba had dropped his body and, he was the center of my life. So I didn't know. But then then things evolved. It just evolved where I knew that people would like to hear what the experiences were of the people that were lived with Baba, that were connected to him, whether they were at a distance or those were under his direction and guidance. What they would have to say personally, not somebody else's story, but their own life, what they experienced with Baba, and it was the first time in the history of the world that there was a technology where you could actually do this, to record them. And so it was very fresh. The Mandalay, when we did them, then nobody had ever done them before because it was all new. It was in 1970 that we went there. Baba dropped his body in 1969. So everything was fresh and they remembered everything, and so that is how that came about.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, we've been the benefactors of you and Eddie doing all of that. Hey, so I'm going to read a final quote that relates to just what you were talking about, and then we'll have a few moments of silence, okay? So here's the quote, and this quote I think was there I found it at Meherabad somewhere. It might have been on the wall of Mandalay Hall at one point. I can't remember. The title of it is To Be United with Him. If you were to be united with Him only after the extinction of your vices and the effacement of your pretensions, you would never be united with Him. Instead, when He wants to unite you to Himself, He covers your attribute with His attribute and hides your quality with His quality. And thus He unites you to Himself by virtue of what comes from Him to you, not by virtue of what goes from you to Him. So let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba. Thank you so much, Irwin. I think you gave us a nice, beautiful picture of being with Baba and all of his teachings and everything. Yeah, any last moment, anything anyone has to share? I'll just say in the final, but that was wonderful. And Irwin has always been so good about just, sharing. I mean, I just asked him a few days ago and he says, sure, and that's been a wonderful thing over the years. Yeah. Anyone, anything to mention? Johannes and Sabine are there in the red. They're both wearing red. It's about 5 in the morning in Germany.
5:30.
What, 5:30?
5:30.
Yeah. But thank you so much. This is,
Yeah, it was wonderful, Irwin. Thank you.
yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, Irwin.
As I said earlier, there are very few people left in this country who have met Baba. And if you've met Baba, you're most likely in your 80s in this country. I don't think there's anybody under 80 who met Baba.
I'm in 70s, Jeff.
I know, but you see, you're in India, so there, you know, and
Yeah,
you
there
were
are so
able to
many.
meet, you were,
Our
Yeah.
German Ursula is just 79.
oh, okay, she's,
Met Barbara in 66. She's German and lives in America, and she's 79. So yes,
Yeah.
there is.
yeah, in fact, you know, Sabine and Johannes, you might want to hear her magnificent story. Ursula, well, what, it was Van Buskirk, what's the,
Reinhardt, Ursula Reinhardt.
Reinhardt, yeah.
Mhm.
If you can get, if you can
Okay.
Yeah.
if you can
But
somehow
she's
get,
in the States, isn't she?
yeah,
There's plenty of
Yes.
recordings of her, lots of recordings. Just put in YouTube Ursula Reinhardt
it's,
and they'll come up.
it's a
How she went to
magnificent,
Ah, okay, yeah.
it's a magnificent story. I mean, it is a journey, unbelievable, wild and colorful journey.
Good.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you all, and thank you, Irwin, and have a good week. And it's great to see, you know, all these people and everything. So,
Excuse
Jay
me,
Bob,
Jeff.
Thank
a
you.
quick question for Erwin.
what
What are those videos? That movie? I wasn't familiar. Is that on YouTube?
yeah,
Sorry for-
you can get some of those talks and everything. Hey, wait, Rainey, while you're there, give us just a little bit of Francis Brabazon, if anything comes to mind.
Love is lovely and lowly. It runs from high places as swiftly as summer rain down the mountainside races. In the mountain passes of intellect, the heart freezes. In the valleys of love, how sweet are the scented breezes. Its love is lovely and lowly. It seeks hollow places at the feet of the Avatar. Is where God's grace is where God's grace is.
Beautiful. All right, J Bob, everybody.
Good night, Jay Baba.
J Bob.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Baba.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Irvin.
Yeah.
Meherabad, Meherabad.
Take care, everyone.
Jay
Enjoy-
Baba.
Jay Baba.
Bye.